Hey there, Steve McVeigh, one of the pastors here at Lamont Wesleyan Church. Today we are in Acts chapter 27, and there's a part of me that's just like, oh my goodness, we are almost to the end of this book. It has been so much fun. I'm hoping that you learned something. We are looking into what we're going to do next. I think there will be another reading plan. Hopefully tomorrow, if you join us for our devotional, we'll talk about that. I would love to find at least a 14-day plan going through one of the letters of Paul. And so we'll talk about that more tomorrow. Today in Acts chapter 27, I'm going to assume that you've read this. And if you haven't, just stop the video and read the chapter and then come back to the video. Thanks for doing that. So here in this chapter, what I want you to know about this chapter before I talk to you about what just literally jumped out at me today as I read it, is I want you to know that for historians and for people who study these types of things, this is one of the most treasured chapters in all of the book of Acts because it is one of the few accounts from that time period that we have that details what it's like to be on a ship, what it's like when a ship runs aground, all of those types of things. These things, one, they really speak to how this is a historic story. This really happened, and it has just given people insight. I mean, there's Homer with the Iliad. There's a few other accounts, but for the most part, this is one of the prime examples of a work that involves sailing. But what really stood out to me about this is the way that the Apostle Paul, as a prisoner, is treated and his demeanor. And so I'm not gonna read all of it at all, but just remember at the very beginning, there's this act of trust where Julius, the centurion, lets Paul go stay in a house for a while. I mean, there's a trust there. There's something about Paul that makes him trustworthy to the centurion. Then later on, when they begin to make some decisions about sailing, and the Apostle Paul can see that there's trouble brewing, I think that's like at verse 10, he says, look, this is going to be disastrous if we go forward. And with a calm demeanor, but with a word of wisdom, he says, guys, the way this is going, this is wrong. We're going to get in trouble. And then when they got in trouble, he encouraged them. I mean, to the point a little bit later from where I'm going to read, he tells them, you haven't eaten for 2 weeks. Let's eat. Let's get prepared for running aground. What you see the Apostle Paul doing is just taking charge. And in verse 21, we see this. After the men had gone a long time without food, Paul stood up before them and said, men, you should have taken my advice not to sail from Crete. Then you would have spared yourselves this damage and loss. But I urge you to keep up your courage. And then goes on and tells them, an angel has told me that we're going to be spared. This is going to be a tough time, but I want you to take courage. You know, when we read that, we say, well, of course the Apostle Paul had courage. But if you put yourself in this story, you're not seeing the Apostle Paul. You're seeing a prisoner who is in life and death situations facing real tragedy. And as I was reading this, I'm like, here we are today. We are doing these videos right now because of COVID-19. And I want to just be really, really upfront with you. I do not think that the challenges of COVID-19 are behind us. I think they're in front of us. I think this fall could be a disastrous time for many of us. And at the very least, as we think about this last couple months, we see how our lives have changed, how there's uncertainty. I mean, I know I need to get to the gym, okay? I miss the gym. I miss my workout community. And frankly, it's going to be open next week, and I'm not sure that I'm going there. I haven't gone out to eat yet, even though restaurants are opening around me. And I'm like, okay, what on earth? So many things around me. There's like shifting sand. And when I see the Apostle Paul, what I see is a person of God facing the storms of life. Let it speak to us metaphorically, even though I don't think that that's a super correct way to interpret Scripture, but let's at least see that he is facing these storms. He's facing these difficulties, and he has a demeanor. Do you know why we're doing these devotions? Do you know why I'm saying to you that I want you to build this routine into my life? We need people like the Apostle Paul in times like these. And you do not become the Apostle Paul by just showing up on Sunday morning. You do not become someone who can have a strong, steady word if you're just getting a little bit of Jesus. And so what we need today, because we do not know what the future holds, is we need people of a deep faith. People who can say with confidence, be encouraged, we're about to crash. I mean, we need that today. And so here's my call to you. And I know this is the shortest video I've shot so far, but I want you to hear this and this only today. God is calling you to go deeper. You say, Steve, I'm not in a position of influence. The Apostle Paul here is in jail, in essence. He is a prisoner, and he is being influential. You can be influential. I can be influential. In uncertain times, people with a certain faith chart the course, and I'm calling you to dig deep, for your faith to grow, for you to be a person who stands on the rock of Jesus Christ, a person who isn't blown around by the wind, but has a strong faith in God. And so as you sit there today and you reflect on this, I want you to ask God, what do I need to do to grow my faith? Where do I need to show confidence and not fear? How can I be used by you, God, even if the next 18 months are nothing but a storm? How can I be the one that, rather than panicking and franticking, and rather than run into all sorts of whatever, just being a person who's solid in their faith? That's my challenge to you. That's my prayer for you. I love you guys. And hey, understand that. I do love you, but I want you to be strong. You have a blessed day, and we will see you tomorrow as we wrap up the study of Acts.